Hello, good morning, and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. This is Shyam Kaggod here, taking up the Hindu news analysis for 1st August 2026. Now, before I start, please do let me know that I'm audible and visible for all of you. Those present in the session, please give the confirmation. Okay, great. Let's start. So, in today's session, I'll be taking up a total of 11 articles from Hindu newspaper, Daily edition, some articles from Indian Express, and to make it much more comprehensive, one homework also I'll give you. And I'll also have a coverage of certain important articles which have been published in the Press Information Bureau, but not in the Hindu newspaper. This has been done in order to ensure that you will have the knowledge regarding all the relevant information which will help you answer the questions in the prelims as well as mains examination. If you're lacking this initiative, do not forget to hit the like button. And if you yet to join the Unacademy IAS YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. And before I start, here is a very important announcement. All those who are preparing for the civil services exams 2027 or even for that matter 2028, and even if you're preparing for other competitive exams, all our courses for the next 3 days will be made available free of cost for all of you. All you need to do is register for the 3-day free trial using the link provided in the description below. And once you register, you will get access to the live as well as recorded sessions, reading material, the test for prelims as well as mains, amongst many other things that is available on our platform. Do not miss out the opportunity. The link is given in the description box. Hit on the link and register for this particular the feature. Now, let me start. The first important article, Western Ghats Conservation with Science and Dialogue. In recent times, there has been a lot of discussion regarding the proposal that has been put forward by Government of India a couple of days ago regarding protecting, conserving the Western Ghats. Now, if you want to understand the debate that is happening right now, you need to go back in history or basically a decade ago and understand what has happened in the past. Western Ghats basically spreads across multiple states. The 6 states where you will have the availability or the presence of Western Ghats are Karnataka, Maharashtra, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Goa, and Gujarat. Now, there is always a debate when the forest is present. On one side, there is a need to conserve the forest, and on the other side, when there is access to the forest for industries, for mining activity, for presence of the people, the tribes, the other residents who are already present in this particular forest, there is always a concern. If there is too much of economic activities that are taking place, it will lead to depletion of the forest resources. And on the other side, if you basically impose lot of restrictions, if you do not allow any kind of economic activity, then what about the people who are already residing in the forest? What about the tribal population which is dependent on the forest resources? What about industrialization? What about access to the mineral resources that are needed for promotion of industries, growth, and development? So there is always a debate. The need to conserve the forest versus the need to get access to the resources to the forest, basically to promote growth, development, the promotion of the population residing in this particular region, etc. In a nutshell, if you want to understand the Western Ghats, I'm pretty sure most of you have seen the movie Avatar. Just understand through that itself. So the argument is the government of India, in order to have a balanced approach, set up Western Ghats Ecology Expert Panel, WGEEP, which was chaired by Madhav Gadgil. And this particular committee gave a recommendation which was opposed by almost all the states, because the recommendation identified this whole Western Ghats, divided the Western Ghats into 3 regions. And multiple areas or a large resource driven or large resource present areas, there was a restriction that was imposed or recommended by this particular authority. And according to the panel recommendations, if these were implemented by the government, around 60% plus, around 64% of the region would be notified as the sensitive areas, ecologically sensitive regions. And classification would be done into category 1, category 2, category 3. And any area that is classified under category 1, there will not be any kind of activity that will be allowed in this particular region. So obviously, many of the states were opposed to this kind of a classification. So Government of India set up one more committee, Kasturi Rangan Committee. And this particular committee was asked to review the recommendations that were given by the earlier Gadgil committee. Now, this Kasturi Rangan committee looked into the recommendations and basically reduced the area that was classified as ecologically sensitive from 64% to somewhere around 37%, somewhere around 30% plus. Now, in order to implement the recommendations, the government has to issue a notification, hold consultation, issue a notification, and notify this particular region as ecologically sensitive region. The first notification or the draft was issued by the Government of India back in the year 2014. The first draft was issued back in the year 2014, and since then, multiple drafts have been issued. These particular drafts have lapsed because there is no consensus between the stakeholders in the region, including the states, including the local authorities, the population which is residing in the region, and between the center as well as the states. For example, if strict regulations are implemented, a lot of people will have to be rehabilitated into another region. Then there is a cost that is included. If conservation efforts have to be implemented, then there is again a cost that is associated. If the population is shifted from one region because this has been identified as core region or it has been identified as very ecologically sensitive, the population is shifted, then they will be losing a lot of their livelihoods. They'll be losing the property ownership, etc., etc. And another very important issue is whenever there is a cost associated with these kind of projects, who is going to bear the expenditure? Which authority will bear the expenditure? If the states are asked to bear this kind of expenditure, the states will never accept it. In addition to this, if the regulations are implemented, obviously, a lot of economic activities such as mining activity would be hurt. So there was no consensus arrived regarding what should be the region that should be identified, and there should be exclusion of any kind of economic activities that are happening in the region or regulations over the economic activities taking place in the region. That is the precise reason, despite announcing multiple notifications, the draft notifications have been announced. 6 notifications were announced. And very recently, the 7th notification also has been announced or has been put out by the Government of India now. Now, what are the important points that you need to understand? Simple point number 1, the new notification, basically a draft which has been put forward by the Government of India to hold consultations, to get the feedback from the stakeholders, etc., basically identifies around 56,000 odd square kilometers. I'm not giving you exact number because let's be very frank, you will not be able to remember exact decimal point numbers during the exams. So 56,000 odd square kilometers as the region identified for protection or conservation under this. It has also basically extended the tenure for one more expert committee that was set up by the Government of India earlier. This expert committee, which is headed by Sanjay Kumar, please make a note of this. The tenure of this committee has been extended till July 2027. Till July 2027 to basically identify the regions that should be protected, that should be given conservation, right, let's say status under the Western Ghats here. Right, so these are certain very important points. But what is the recommendation that has been provided by the writer here? What is the recommendation? The writer simply says there is a need for the government to hold consultations with the stakeholders, have dialogue with the stakeholders. For example, certain population which is already resident in the region. have dialogue, hold consultations with this particular population, take their viewpoints into consideration, and then implement these kind of guidelines. In addition to this, the writer also says there is a need to use technology now. Technology to identify, to map the regions, to notify, denotify certain regions, to identify the borders, etc. So use the technology to identify the correct region that requires conservation efforts and then notify or implement these particular reforms. Done? Everybody's okay? So these are certain important points. Now, based on this, here is a question. Please answer to the question and tell me what is the correct answer very quickly. The Western Ghats is spread across which of the following states? Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Karnataka, Goa, Maharashtra. Which of the right states the Western Ghats is present according to the government notification? Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Karnataka, Goa, Maharashtra. Now, I know a lot of you will basically say, sir, this is a very easy question. Why? You have already given the list, right? In the previous slide, you have given the list. And in the next slide, you are asking the question. Then the question is not difficult, right? And some of you basically will bring out the inner voice of Jaikan Shikre from the movie of Singham. You'll basically say, sir, right, you are giving a very easy question. Now, I'll basically replace this particular question. Have a look at this. What if I ask you a question? In which of the following states the presence of Western Ghats is highest? The area under the Western Ghats highest under which of the following states? Now you'll basically say, sir, right, you have not taught this. You have not taught this, but you're asking the question. That's where I said you will get that particular inner voice of right Singham movie villain Jaikan Shikre. You will basically say, sir, you're cheating. You're not teaching. Cheating karta hai tu. Teaching nahi, cheating karta hai. So argument is simple. The highest region. Some of you are saying Maharashtra. No idea. According to the government documents, the highest region is in the state of Karnataka. Highest is in the state of Karnataka. Right? A lot of you are saying Maharashtra. Please check the data. It is highest in Karnataka, lowest in Gujarat. Highest in Karnataka, lowest in Gujarat. Right? So please be very careful. What UPSC might do is ask you this kind of question. Anyways, the right option for the question will be option B, 2, 3, 4 and 5. It's not in Madhya Pradesh. Now, here is a question for you to practice mains answer writing. The issue of conserving the Western Ghats highlights the challenges of balancing ecological sustainability with developmental aspirations. Critically examine. 15-mark question for 250 words. I've been telling you this. I'll repeat it. Please practice mains answer writing. That will be, according to me, the toughest phase in the UPSC Civil Services examination. Some of you will say, sir, please give us homework. Let's go back to the school system. Please give us homework. We are not used to you explaining all the things and then asking me to write. It becomes very easy for me. Make the process difficult. Then here is the question for all of you. Here is the homework for all of you. Couple of days ago, this was the article in the Indian Express. A lot of discussion has been happening in the context of education in India. And I'm pretty sure all of you know what is the debate all about. Now, one of the important areas that is discussed in case of education sector is what has been the expenditure of Government of India as well as the state governments in order to promote the education sector. So here is the article. All of you, please download the PPT. It will be uploaded, the link for which has been provided in the description box, and have patience, it will be uploaded by EOD. Download the article, read the article and try to write the answer to this question that has been given at the bottom of the slide. India's demographic dividend can become a demographic liability unless supported by adequate investment in education. Critically examine. 250 words, a 15-marker question. Done. Please read the article, attempt. Let me move on to the next article. Second article, editorial, a healthy tax. In recent times, lot of discussion has been happening in the context of health of Indians. Very often you will come across the statement, there are two Indias. Correct? There are two Indias. It could be discussed in the context of rich and poor. It is discussed in the context of urban, rural. It is discussed in the context of haves and have nots. Now, there is one more angle that you can add to that. Some population doesn't get access to nutrition. Some population does not get access to sufficient nutrition. And mind you, despite government of India having reforms or measures to contain the problem of, let's say, food security. And on the other side, there is certain percentage of the population which has too much access to nutrition. How do I prove it? Let me give you data from National Family Health Survey. NFHS, National Family Health Survey. Very recently, in the month of May, the Government of India published the National Family Health Survey 6th round results. What does the 6th round results basically hold in terms of data for you? According to the 6th round results, there is a stunting problem in India. There's a stunting as well as wasting problem in India. Although the percentage of the population which faces the stunting and wasting problem, it has come down, but even today, a lot of children in India face the problem of stunting as well as wasting. And on the other hand, the same survey also states that when you look at the children below the age of 5, when you look at the children below the age of 5 years, certain percentage of these particular children are overweight, are obese. And this, if not contained, if this particular issue is not contained right now, over a period of time, this issue is going to become a big headache for the whole Indian economy, society, as well as the government of India. Now, what is the data for this? According to Indian Council for Medical Research, Indian Council of Medical Research, National Institute of Nutrition report, there are 17 million children in India as well as adolescents who are affected by obesity. And according to this particular report, if this issue is not resolved now, over a period of time, this number is going to further increase and hit 27 million people by 2030. 27 million people. That is the precise reason. Very often in the newspaper, you will come across the statement, India is a diabetic capital of the world. India is a diabetic capital of the world. According to Government of India's estimates itself, the earlier family survey, that is NFHS 5, over 20% of the male as well as female population in India are obese. Of course, a lot of you will be thinking and basically uttering this particular statement, look who is talking. Look who is talking. You are telling about obesity, but please look at yourself. I know, don't worry about it. But the problem is very simple. There is a problem of one side, obesity, and on the other side, there is a problem of not having sufficient access to nutrition, right, in India. So what is the solution? Is there any solution to this? Of course, yes, there is a solution. Now, some of the things that have been discussed in the editorial. First one, there is a need to impose a tax. Simple. There is a need to impose a tax. Tax on what? Tax on food products. Tax on food products. Now, some of you will basically sigh and simply say, sir, you're already imposing tax on income. You're imposing tax on this. You're imposing GST on this. Now, on food also, you want to impose a tax? Listen to me carefully. The tax that is being recommended here is not the other type of tax, but the tax that will be imposed on unhealthy foods. The tax that will be imposed on unhealthy foods. And this is not new in the global market, by the way. According to the World Health Organization, the point is given here, you can have a look at it. According to the World Health Organization report, post 2017, there have been more than 133 countries in the world which have imposed taxes on certain unhealthy products, unhealthy food products. And what do I mean by unhealthy food products here? Those particular products which will have very high fat content, salt content, sugar content, etc. The acronym that you generally come across is HFSS. Right? Those particular unhealthy products which are packaged and sold to us, right? These should be imposed with higher taxation. Same recommendation has been provided for many other products, not associated with the food products, but basically the recommendation to impose higher taxes on consumption of, let's say, tobacco. in order to increase the market price of the product and reduce the consumption demand for these kind of products. So this is one recommendation that has been discussed here. Second important recommendation, which I'm pretty sure you people have come across multiple times by now, is the front of the label packaging. Front of the label packaging. What is this idea? Whenever you go to, let's say, a shop, you purchase certain products. For example, some of you might be eating a packet of biscuit right now, or you might be munching on munch right now. You might be eating, right, let's say, Lay's packet, and while listening to the lecture, you open the packet and you saw most of it was basically air and only two pieces of potato, fried potato, sitting at the bottom. A lot of times what we end up doing is we purchase these packaged products without knowing how much is the calorie present in these products, what kind of artificial additives have been added, what kind of oil has been used for cooking these particular products, etc., etc. Because all this information is provided at the back side of the packaging. Many countries have implemented a reform where this information will be provided on the front of the packaging. And those who are wondering, sir, what will be the impact? Anyways, package is a package. The argument is when these are stacked in the stores, when these are stacked, put on the right, let's say the place in for marketing purposes. Generally, they will display the front of the label. So you as a consumer, you must be aware of how many calories you are taking in, what kind of, right, let's say, minerals you are consuming, if at all there is any amount of mineral, what kind of oil you are consuming, etc. So this is one more recommendation that has been provided in the article in the context of promoting, right, let's say, a tax on or promoting basically consumption of healthy foods in India. Everybody is okay? And please understand, do not read this article only in the context of taxation on unhealthy products. In the recent times, there has been a lot of discussion regarding this. For example, the Prime Minister of India, during the Independence Day speech, basically asked Indians to consume lesser amount of oil. Correct? I'm pretty sure all of you heard of this. The Prime Minister of India appealed to the Indians to reduce the consumption of cooking oil. Of course, cooking oil, right? So what is the argument there? We are import dependent. A lot of this oil, we consume it for frying purposes, refrying, fry, using the same oil multiple times, which becomes more and more unhealthy. So that will add to, right, let's say, the health problems that all of us are facing. So please understand this article in the larger context. Don't look at it as a single individual article. Now, based on this, here is a very simple question. Please answer very quickly so that I can move forward. And before I go forward, is everybody able to follow the discussion? Please do let me know in the chat section. The National Family Health Survey is published by Ministry of Rural Development, Ministry of Women and Child Development, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Okay, right. So Ministry of Health and Family Welfare is the right option. Can we move on to the next article now? Can we move on to the next article? Great. Thanks a lot. Next important article, Spain's PM blames trafficking gangs as 60,000 crores into Ceuta in a day. Right, so there is some international migration issue that is happening, illegal migration, by the way. You need to understand the important points associated with this. First and foremost, please have a look at the map, potential mapping question for the prelims. Here is Spain, and here is the country Morocco. Right, these two basically, right, this is basically Europe and this is Africa. The connection is Strait of Gibraltar. Right, there is a Strait of Gibraltar, right, and there are two regions that you need to remember here. One is Ceuta and the other one is Melilla. Now both of these belong to Spain. Right, both of these particular cities belong to Spain. There is a presence of authorities here. The Spain has, right, let's say, installed authorities. They have installed, right, let's say, the personnel to manage, right, these two cities, etc. Both of these belong to Spain. Now, what has happened in a single day? In a single day, according to the news reports, more than 60,000 migrants illegally have crossed from the side of Morocco into the Spain's region, that is Ceuta. They have crossed. There was a boundary or there was a border, right? There was barricade. Many people have crossed barricades to jump into or to basically enter into Spain. And many people have swam across, right, these waters into Spain. And in this particular process, the news reports also quote that more than 30 people have died. But of course, please understand the update is also that more than 30,000 people out of 60,000 who have crossed illegally, more than 30,000 people have gone back to Morocco. They have went back to Morocco. But question arises, why? What happened? Why suddenly? Is it the first time that this kind of an instance has happened in this region? And what is the overall picture regarding illegal migration or basically the debate about migrating into Europe? Now, listen to me very carefully. This is not the first time that the population from Morocco, the people from Morocco have crossed over into the region of Spain or region under the control of Spain here. Earlier, back in the year 2020 and 2021, more than 10,000 people crossed over illegally into the region of Spain. And this is a second major instance that has happened in the last 5 years. But why? What has happened? One, there is a demand for better economic living conditions in Morocco. There is a, right, let's say, problem with respect to the economic conditions, job security, availability of food, stability, etc. That is the precise reason people generally move from one region into another region. That is exactly what has been happening, right? And this is one of the contributing factors. Second, then why is the Spain's leader, that is the Spain's PM, blaming the trafficking gangs? Very recently, there was a Supreme Court ruling in Spain. According to this particular ruling, if people are moving from, let's say, Morocco into Spain, that is through sea, if people are moving from sea route into Spain, the Supreme Court of Spain has ruled that these people cannot be pushed back. They will have to enter into Spain, or they are allowed to enter into Spain. They cannot be pushed back by the authorities into, right, let's say, the sea and force them to, right, go back to the respective countries. And this has basically been construed by these people as people can easily enter into Spain now, right? Because the legal protection is provided, people can easily move into Spain. And this information, the Spain's PM says, has been communicated to people by the traffickers. As a result of this, suddenly lot of people, thousands of people have moved from the Morocco region into the city of Ceuta, which is controlled by Spain. That is the second reason. Third important reason, which has been cited by multiple authorities, is that the authorities within Morocco have relaxed certain controls. Earlier, more restrictions were imposed. Stronger vigil was imposed by the authorities to ensure that the people don't migrate or illegally cross the border. Now, because the authorities in Morocco are worried about the kind of policies or the kind of, let's say, friendly relation that the Spain is having towards Algeria, right? And there is a problem between the two countries, that is Morocco and Algeria. And Spain is moving or becoming more friendly towards Algeria. So this also has been a bigger concern for Morocco, and it is stated that the authorities in Morocco relaxed the regulations, did not impose a stronger control over the migration of the population, as a result of which thousands of people have entered into this particular city, crossed the border illegally. Done. So these are the reasons why suddenly more than 60,000 people have crossed from the side of Morocco into Spain. Now, what is the larger picture? Larger picture is, one, this basically plays into the hands of multiple other countries which have been criticizing the European countries. They have been criticizing the European countries because the European countries, multiple countries, including Spain, by the way, have very relaxed regulations regarding the inflow of migration population. This has been seen earlier in case of Germany. In fact, the Prime Minister of Spain has been criticized to be very liberal in terms of accepting the migrant population. And there are a lot of security concerns that is associated. And as usual, the President of USA jumped into this particular debate. right? The leader of the biggest companies in the world, that is Mr. Elon Musk, also jumped into this particular debate, criticized the authorities in Spain as usual. So the argument is the Europe has been facing a criticism regarding accepting migrant population, which is changing the, right, let's say, composition of the present population, which has security issues, etc., etc. So please understand this particular debate in that particular context. Done. So for mapping purposes, I've given you one more map. Please have a look at it. Here is Spain. Here is Morocco. Here is Ceuta, right? And this is Mediterranean Sea, and this side is Atlantic Ocean. Questions can be asked. Please be very, very careful. Okay. Now let's move on to the next article. Court proceeding live streaming issue, or the debate about live streaming the court proceedings. I'm pretty sure you must have seen earlier or very recently as well, a lot of snippets regarding what is happening in the high courts as well as supreme courts, right? What kind of, right, let's say, statements are given by the judges, how the lawyers argue in the courts, etc. Lot of these particular snippets will keep on falling into your feed. You're scrolling Instagram, you're scrolling, let's say, YouTube shorts, etc. Suddenly these particular snippets will come, and a lot of times you will either be enraged towards, right, let's say, a high court judge or a supreme court judge or the government looking at, right, let's say, the short video. The Supreme Court of India in the month of July, right, in the last week of July, imposed a restriction on using the court feed, that is the live streaming feed, for monetizing purposes, for commercial purposes. The argument of the Supreme Court is basically that we want to promote, basically the argument of, we want to promote the principle of open justice. We want to promote open justice, that is, whenever the court hearings are heard, whenever the orders are issued, judgments are read out, whenever there is an appeal that is made in the court, people should know what is happening. People must be aware of what is happening in the court. Only then the people will get faith, or will basically develop faith in the judicial system. Because a lot of times we don't know what kind of, let's say, arguments are put forward by, let's say, the two sides. And we might come to a conclusion looking at what has been the order issued or the judgment issued by the Supreme Court or the High Court. But what if the two sides or one of the two sides has not given the proof to the judge? What if one of the two sides has not given the correct data for issuance of the judgment, etc.? So in order to cultivate the faith of the people on the justice delivery system, right, the Supreme Court issued an order stating that court proceedings can be live streamed. But the Supreme Court at the same point of time is worried of the fact that some of these particular, let's say, shots or the snippets or the videos that are being used in social media can be used by the people to commercialize, to monetize, that is, earn money on them. And more importantly, the Supreme Court is worried that rather than promoting the principle of the justice, it might lead to trolling of certain judicial officers. It might lead to trolling of certain judicial officers. It might lead to trolling of, right, let's say, the justice, etc., at High Court level as well as Supreme Court. So understand, even the Supreme Court is worried that you people will start trolling them looking at certain shots. Right? So now imagine the plight of the UPSC teachers, by the way. Right? Imagine the plight of UPSC teachers. While we are teaching, you're basically, right, mocking, trolling, etc. Anyways, on a lighter note, don't take it seriously. So argument is, citing these particular issues, Supreme Court of India imposed a restriction on usage of the live streaming of court proceedings. Now there is an application at the Supreme Court, and the application is basically asking Supreme Court to modify this order, right? Modify this particular order. Why? If you want to inculcate or if you want the people to have faith in the judiciary, in such cases, let the people have access to the live proceedings or at least the videos of court proceedings. If the concern is that this can be monetized, this can be misused, etc., in such cases, there can be certain restrictions imposed. Restrictions in the form of what will be the protocol, what procedure will be followed if you want to use these particular, let's say, video snippets. What procedures you will have to follow to get access to these particular video recordings of, right, let's say the High Court as well as Supreme Court hearings that are happening. So regarding this, now the Supreme Court has stated, yes, we will consider this. We will put in place certain protocol which the people, or let's say the one who wants to get access to these particular videos, what procedure they must follow, we will put in place a protocol. Done? Right, so these are certain important points regarding the updation of the hearing at the Supreme Court level. Again, before I go forward, whatever jokes I make, please take it as jokes. Nothing serious. Don't take anything seriously except the information that I provide that is relevant for UPSC. Whatever jokes I crack are purely jokes. Okay, let's go forward. Today is the day for multiple schemes. Multiple schemes have been mentioned, announced, right? Let's say the scope has been expanded, etc., etc. PM Surya Sarovar Yojana. The cabinet has approved the scheme to promote floating solar plants. The government of India has been promoting renewable energy. There is no doubt regarding this. Okay, renewable energy. One of the most important areas within the renewable energy has been solar. But the problem with the development of solar power projects, of course, I'm talking about commercial level solar power plants or solar projects, not the household ones. The problem with promotion of commercial solar projects is you need to acquire land. You need to acquire land. You need a lot of land which is free of any kind of, right, let's say judicial issues. There is no cases on this particular land, and everybody who is owning this particular piece of land wants to give it away to, right, say, let's say the developer. And a lot of times there will come one or the other issues in terms of land acquisition in India. In order to promote the projects and to address this particular problem of acquisition of the land, the government of India has been promoting the floating solar power plants. Floating solar power plants. Now, a new scheme has been announced. What are the important points under the new scheme? Here are the important points. Don't write down these particular points. Download the PPT. All the points will be visible to you. The same PPT slide will be given to you. Mother promise. Now, scheme for the development of floating solar photovoltaic projects with, this is a keyword, energy storage systems. What is the point here? Please understand. This scheme is not just promoting floating solar photovoltaic projects. Not just that. It is also promoting along with that in the same location, co-location. In the same location, there has to be a battery energy storage system. The point is very simple. In case of India, there have been instances where there is one concern regarding promotion of solar energy. We are producing solar energy during daytimes. But during the evening, the demand for electricity is very, very high. Is the point clear? The peak demand for the electricity happens in the evening, but the production happens during daytime. So if you do not have storage facilities, if you do not develop the battery energy storage systems, then you're producing, you're not able to supply because the demand is very less. A lot of production capacity cannot be utilized efficiently. So the government of India simply says, yes, this is a project to promote floating solar projects. Along with that, right, we will also have at the same location the energy storage system. It is a central sector scheme. What is the total funding that has been allocated by the government? Just over 5,000 crore rupees. Just over 5,000 crore rupees. The nodal authority will be the Ministry of, this is an important point, please remember, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, MNRE, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Now, how the funds will be utilized? The government of India, generally, whenever it announces the funding, it will use the funding to promote development of the projects. Under this particular scheme, the government simply says, those identified projects which are going to be developed, the government will provide maximum 1 crore rupees per megawatt. 1 crore rupees per megawatt. And before the development of the project, you will conduct certain activities. That is basically you need to undertake feasibility studies. Feasibility in the sense whether the project is feasible to be developed in this particular region or not. What are the different issues that you will come across? Do we have solutions for the issues? Basically, a feasibility study is done. So, to conduct the feasibility study also, the central financial assistance of 50 lakh rupees per project will be provided by the government. Done. And the target under this is to develop 5,000 megawatts of floating solar photovoltaic project with co-located energy storage system. What should be the minimum storage capacity that you're going to develop here? That should be at least 10,000 megawatt hour. It should have a storage capacity of at least 10,000 megawatt hour. Done? Right. So this project will be implemented for 5 years from financial year 27 to financial year 31. And the potential in case of India, the total potential for having solar floating solar projects, the total installation capacity is just over 102 gigawatts. So these are the important points that you need to remember regarding the Pradhana Mantri Surya Sarovar Yojana, PMSSY. Now, based on this, here is a question. Please answer the question quickly so that we can move on to the next article. Consider the following statements regarding Pradhana Mantri Surya Sarovar Yojana. The nodal ministry is the Ministry of Power. Under this, the central assistance is pegged at 75% of the cost of the project. It aims at developing floating solar projects with co-located battery energy storage systems. The nodal ministry is Ministry of Power. Incorrect. Under this, the central assistance is fixed at, pegged means maximum 75% of the cost of the project. Incorrect. It aims to develop floating solar projects with co-located battery energy storage system. Yes. Third statement is correct. Right option for the question will be option A, only one. Next article, one more scheme. Cabinet okays 84,000 crore Samudra Manthan for offshore exploration. Offshore exploration. What are the important points? The Prime Minister in the speech, Independence Day speech for 2025 had made a statement. That is, there is a need to have Samudra Manthan initiative. Right? Samudra Manthan basically means churning. I'm pretty sure all of you know about the Samudra Manthan, right, in our mythology. So we need to basically harness, right, the resources which are present in the exclusive economic zone. Double easy, exclusive economic zone. So in order to implement that particular, right, let's say objective of the government, point number one, to harness the resources from the exclusive economic zone. Second important point, there are exploration projects in India already. There are multiple projects which are happening. But please understand, a lot of these oil fields which are operating in India, these particular fields are very old. These are very old fields, right? Aging fields. And the problem with these particular aging fields is, in many of these particular fields, we have already hit the peak level of production, which means after hitting the peak, there is no further peak. You'll have to go down the graph like this. So that is the second issue. Third very important issue, you know this, right, by heart now. India is import dependent. India is import dependent mainly on, right, energy. We import crude, we import LNG, etc., etc. So to achieve or to address all of these particular three, the government has announced a new initiative, Samudra Manthan scheme. Now, Samudra Manthan has basically four components. Please listen to me carefully. It has four components. It's a central sector scheme. Like earlier scheme, it is also a central sector scheme. It has four components. One, there will be 60 deep water exploration projects that will be implemented. For this, certain amount of funds have been allocated. Second component is offshore data acquisition will be promoted. Right? For this, more than 28,000 crores have been allocated. Third component is common offshore infrastructure hubs will be promoted under this. In order to facilitate whatever discovery is done in offshore, we have to commercialize these particular projects. We need to ensure this project has commercial viability, right? So that certain amount of revenue can be generated. It's not just expenditure. And mind you, these particular projects are very capital intensive in the first place, capital intensive. And these will also have very long gestation periods. There is a technical term, please remember this. These will also have very long gestation period. That is, if you invest today, you are not going to get the returns tomorrow, right? You are not going to get the returns tomorrow. It will take multiple years in order to generate a product, sell that in the market and get the revenue. Long gestation period, capital intensive projects. So we need to ensure these particular projects will be able to achieve commercial viability. For that also there is a component. And the fourth component is to promote, right, production of inputs within the domestic market itself. That is, multiple components will be required, raw material will be required, spare parts will be required, etc. For this, establishment of oil and gas manufacturing services zones will also be promoted in the domestic market itself. So these are the four components of the National Offshore Exploration Scheme. Right? In addition to this, it will be implemented by the nodal authority, nodal ministry, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, will be implemented till 2030-31, but please make a note of this. The assistance that will be provided by the government under these components is not limited to 1 year. It is extended to the next year as well, which means the scheme will be implemented till 31, but the funding pattern will continue in the next financial year as well. The approved outlay is more than 84,000 crore rupees. These are certain important points in the context of Samudra Manthan. Okay, let's move on to the next article. Everybody is able to follow the discussion. Please do let me know in the chat section. Ranjit Kumar says, please provide PDF. My dear, PDF will be provided to you. Please don't panic. Right? Whatever PDF I've prepared, it is for your benefit. Because I keep on saying this in every class. I'm a big believer in making notes. You should also make notes. Don't worry. You want the notes that I've done in the PPT? Instead of writing down, I've written all the points. Download the PPT. It will be uploaded. Do not panic. Okay, next article. Trump touts Gaza deal. I'm pretty sure a lot of you will be thinking, this is something that has been repeated multiple times, umpteen times now. Every once a while, right? Once every 15 days, right? Once every 20 days, you'll keep on coming across Gaza deal. Breakthrough in the Gaza deal. That breakthrough, this breakthrough, right? That country will agree. This country will agree. I know a lot of you will be feeling, Arey, this is happening for so many months now. Right? It will continue to happen. Because please understand, these kind of deals are not arrived overnight. Although Mr. Donald Trump believes it can be done overnight, it is not going to happen overnight. And please understand, will this be the last time, according to my estimate or my, right, let's say sixth sense, will it be the last time that there will be a discussion on the deal around Gaza? I don't think so. Why? I'll tell you in a minute. Now, last year, in the month of October, there was a deal, 15-point deal that was proposed, that was agreed. As an update to that, now there is one more deal that has been put forward, which Mr. Donald Trump says has been accepted by all the sides. And the major sides which are involved here are basically the Hamas as well as Israel. These are the two very important sides that are involved in this particular, right, friction here. According to the latest announcement, Hamas has accepted the condition to lay down the weapons. Basically, they have agreed for complete disarmament. This is what Mr. Donald Trump has stated. Right? So disarmament will be done, right? Or the Hamas will undergo complete disarmament. Right? And with this, right, a major deal has been arrived to install peace, to restore, right, let's say the peace in this particular region. And whatever points were basically announced under the earlier deal, now they will be implemented. For example, Board of Peace, right? Promotion of economic activity in the region, promotion of peace in the region, etc., etc. But the biggest problem is the classic problem of first is it hen or first is it egg. Very often you will come across this. First was it an egg or first was it a hen? The same thing you will see here as well. That is, Hamas has agreed to the deal, disarmament. But Hamas simply says, we are not going to go for complete disarmament. We are going to go for disarmament of heavier weapons. Heavy weapons, which are very, very small compared to all the other weapons that Hamas has. That is the point number one. Point number two is, Hamas simply says, first, Israel has to move back. Israel has already entered into, right, this particular region. They have established a buffer zone, right? Yellow line is there. First, Israel has to go back, completely withdraw its troops, right? Completely, right, go back into their respective boundaries. Only then we will go for complete disarmament. This is the argument that has been put forward by Hamas after the announcement by Mr. Donald Trump. And on the other side, Israel simply says, we will not agree to this. Although official statement from Mr. Netanyahu, right, the Prime Minister of Israel, has not been issued as of now, but other government stakeholders, they have not accepted this. They have basically said, no, this is not acceptable to us, right? That is point number one. And point number two, in the coming months, that is October 2026, elections will be held in Israel. And Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu has been against the presence of Hamas, right? Has been propagating, right, complete demolition of Hamas. So will he accept this? If he will accept, what conditions he is going to impose? Will he first ask the Hamas to lay down or go for complete disarmament and then he will withdraw? That is not acceptable to Hamas. So the same classic egg versus hen situation is going to happen in the coming days. There will be further discussion on this article again in the coming days. But this is basically one update associated with what is happening in Gaza. Next, the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi has been extended. PM-KISAN initiative has been extended. The Union Cabinet has given an approval to extend the PM-KISAN scheme till the end of financial year 31. Till the end of financial year 31 with the total financial outlay of more than 3 lakh crore rupees. Now, what is the importance of PM-KISAN? Under PM-KISAN, the farmers are given annual income support of 6,000 rupees in 3 installments, 3 equal installments. This has been done by the government in order to ensure the farmers will have certain amount of income in their hand which they can use to purchase inputs to cultivate crops. Right? There are no conditions regarding what kind of inputs they will have to purchase, but annually in 3 installments, 6,000 rupees will be transferred under this initiative by the government to the farmer. Right? So the government has so far given 23 installment or payment in 23 installments, and this scheme now has been extended up to 2031. These are the important points. You'll have to make a note of it. Anushka Singh says the 3,000, 3,000, 2,000. My dear, then 3 plus 3 plus 2 will become 8. Is it 8,000 rupees? No, it is 6,000 rupees. Right? It is not 8,000 rupees. It is 6,000 rupees. And so far, more than 4.47 lakh crore rupees has been issued or has been spent by the government of India under this initiative. Now, one more update. Lok Sabha passes births and deaths bill amid protest. Now, please understand, this has been passed by Lok Sabha, introduced in Lok Sabha, passed by Lok Sabha. Now, what are the important points? There is Births and Deaths Registration Act of 1969. Okay? Births and Deaths Registration Act of 1969. Under this particular act, whenever there is a birth or a death of a person, this has to be registered with the authorities within 21 days. Now, I know some of you will be ready with the question, sir, what if I will do it after 21 days? What if the registration is done after 21 days? Government simply says, nothing will happen. You will have to pay certain charges. After 21 days, you'll have to pay certain charges. But there is a concern. What is a concern? One, lot of people are not registering the birth or the death events. They're not registering. And if the registration does not happen on timely basis, then there is always a concern that whether the data we have, is it correct or not? The data, is it correct or not? Because population data is required for us. Second, if the registration does not happen on timely basis, there is always a scope of misuse. For example, what if certain frauds are conducted by registering these kind of, right, let's say the births or the deaths with a delay? As an afterthought, they will register and will use these particular certificates to conduct frauds. For example, multiple times you must have seen, right, let's say the government assistance misuse has happened, right, or the schemes, funds have been misused, diverted, etc., etc. Basically, all of that can be connected to the idea of registration of the birth as well as the death. So, what has the government of India proposed under the amendment bill? The government of India has proposed a change in the proposal or procedure now. If a birth or death is reported to the registrar after 1 year of the event but before 2 years, after 1 year but before 2 years, in such case the registration approval has to be given by the district magistrate, for example you people, right? So district magistrate, subdivisional magistrate, executive magistrate authorized by the district magistrate. So you'll have to get the permission from these authorities if you delay the registration for more than 1 year but below 2 years. Now you'll be ready with the question. What if there is, right, registration request after 2 years? Government says, okay. If you're going to have a request for registration after 2 years, in such cases, the registration order has to be issued by the judicial magistrate of the first class. Judicial magistrate of the first class. And please understand, what is this particular requirement? Why should we go for this kind of requirement? Now this approval has to be issued by the designated authority for accepting the registration after verification. There has to be a verification, right? Basically, whether this particular registration request, is it authentic or not authentic? Is it a fake request? That authenticity has to be verified by the approved the authority which has to issue the approval. So these are the changes that the government of India has proposed under Registration of Births and Deaths Amendment Bill 2026. Done. Next, 2 articles from Press Information Bureau. Because these 2 articles were not published in the Hindu newspaper, I've taken these 2 articles. One, Favara-UPI Linkage. And before you simply say, sir, the screenshot that is there, it is not clearly visible. My dear, once the PPT is made available to you, zoom in and you can have a look at it. It is very clear, by the way. Am I audible and visible? Please do let me know. I'm audible and visible for all of you, right? Great. Because most of you have gone dormant by now. 2 articles, that's it, right? 2 articles, that's it, right? So, first one, right? The Maldives Monetary Authority, MMA. And please understand, this is not the first time that this kind of agreement has been signed. Earlier, for example, the Singapore Authority as well as the Reserve Bank of India. The Singapore Authority as well as Reserve Bank of India had also signed an agreement. Right, the Monetary Authority of Singapore as well as RBI, where a bridge has been established between the digital, right, tool that is used in Singapore with, right, UPI, so that the funds transfer can be done very easily. And UPI right now with this operationalization is available in total 10 countries. It is available in total 10 countries. Please be very careful. UPSC has the habit of asking this question. And before you ask me, sir, what are the 10 countries? Give me the list. Here is the list of the countries. But before I go forward, please do not look at this particular article as only the article associated with UPI linkage. No. Please look at the larger picture here. That is, there is a term called as India Stack. How many of you heard of this? There is a term called as India Stack. That is basically certain technologies which are developed in India. These are being offered to other countries by the government of India. It is being offered by government of India to other countries, right? So basically they're allowed to use these kind of technologies for implementation and usage in the respective countries. And that is going to build the soft power for India. It is going to build influence of India in the global market. Look at this particular article from that particular viewpoint, right? So the UPI, the technology of UPI is one of the technologies that is covered under India stack, right? So Maldives Monetary Authority has announced successful, right, let's say live implementation of the bridge that has been established between Favara and UPI linkage. With this, the transfer of the funds will become much easier, the consumption of time will be much lower, the cost associated with the transfers will also be much lower. Done. Now, based on this, here is a question. Please answer the question very quickly so that we can move on to the last article for today. Which of the following are a part of India stack? Which of the following are part of India stack? UPI, Aadhaar, DigiLocker. UPI, Aadhaar, DigiLocker. Right, by the way, all the three are part of India stack. Right option will be option C. And before I move on to the last article, are these the only three technologies under India stack? No. Couple of more are there. Please remember them. E-sign is one more level or one more layer. E-KYC is one more layer. Account aggregators is one more layer. All these are basically part of, right, the India stack. Done. Now for the last article for today. Cabinet approves revamped Khelo India scheme. Revamped Khelo India scheme. The government of India had launched Khelo India scheme back in the year 2017. Under this, as the name suggests, under this the objective is very simply to promote, right, let's say accessibility to infrastructure, to harness, right, let's say the let's say the energy of the youth, to ensure the right persons or the right athletes will be able to get assistance and participate and contribute, right, to the India's sports. So the government has expanded the Khelo India scheme now. Totally two schemes are there. The total funding that has been allocated will be 36,000 crore rupees. Out of 36,000 crore rupees, around 29,000 crore rupees, I'm just rounding off the number, around 29,000 crore rupees has been allocated for Khelo India scheme. What are the important points associated with this? Please have a look at this. Enhanced assistance to national sports federations. There are different federations in India, right? So assistance will be increased. Outlay is almost 8 times compared to what was the outlay under the earlier Khelo India scheme. The number of athletes, right, that the limit was there earlier was 3,000, and the government documents basically show out of 3,000, the coverage right now was given for around 2,800 athletes. Around 2,800 athletes were covered under this. Right, so basically now the coverage of the athletes under the scheme will be expanded from 3,000 to 30,000. 3,000 to 30,000. Right, so talent identification will be done by the experts. In addition to this, right, the federations will be funded to host international events. Mind you, the government of India wants to host Commonwealth Games as well as Olympic Games 2030 and 2036. And that is where these kind of initiatives of government of India will become very, very relevant. Right, so funding for the federations has been increased from 2 crore rupees to 20 crore rupees, and the athletes will be trained under Pan-India network now. So these are some of the very important points or the updates associated with Khelo India scheme. Done? Right, so these are the important articles, concepts, questions that I wanted to discuss with you people in today's session. If you have liked the session, do not forget to hit the like button. If you are yet to join the Unacademy IAS YouTube channel, right, subscribe now. If you have any kind of questions, do let me know before I close the session. Any kind of questions, confusion regarding whatever I've discussed? Regarding the PPT, don't worry, it will be uploaded. And second, right, those who are preparing for the competitive exams, make the best use of the 3-day free trial initiative that we have launched. Use the link provided in the description, register and make the best use. No questions? Done then. Thanks a lot. Take care. See you tomorrow sharp at 10 a.m.